Ted, good morning, Coach.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How about yourself, my man?
No, I can't complain. I you know what? I couldn't sleep last night just anticipating that I was going to get on this show. So there's a lot of pressure.
So nervous.
Don't worry about it.
Oh, Ted, let me ask you this. We always ask Amon Green this. Amon Green is in Houston. Obviously, we're here at the mothership here in Lincoln, Nebraska. Ted, what's the temperature in Phoenix today?
Oh boy, it's cold. You know, I woke up this morning. The wife and I went out for a workout, and I think it was in the high 40s, low 50s. But it's supposed to get up to 80 to go. 80 today. So you know, it's not too bad. You know, I'm watching that a little bit of that Steelers Cleveland game last night, and I tell you what, I had to bring that up. I'm sorry, but being out here in Arizona, you lose track of the Midwest and the weather they're dealing with.
Yes. Ted, first of all, like I said, we joke and we laugh quite a bit. I was just with Ted about a month and a half ago, and we watched the Steelers game down there. I forgot who we even played, but that's neither here or there. But I love hanging.
They were playing the Raiders.
The Raiders, that's right. They were playing the Raiders, who Ted used to coach for. So we had some great conversations about the Raiders and the Steelers and just NFL in general. Ted, let me ask you this, man. What are you doing, before we get into the past, what are you doing right now? Let our listeners know what you're doing right now as far as work-wise.
Sure. Well, I tell you what, as we all know, and I'm sure you guys have had plenty of conversations about the landscape of college athletics. You know, so about the last 3 years, I've been feeling somewhat of a, you know, getting to the point where wasn't enjoying it. I mean, I was enjoying the meeting room. I was enjoying coaching on the field, but hated everything else. And, you know, and my wife and my family, you know, they're very supportive. And they're just like, well, just tell us what it looks like. Just tell us what it looks like, you know. So I thought I would have some time to put some things in play as far as making a easier transition. You know, but it's like that old saying, it goes, if you start planning, every now and then the good Lord lets you know that you're not in control. And obviously when we went through all the nonsense that we went through at Michigan State this past year with Coach Tucker, I looked at that as the opportunity to, you know, to start trying to pivot. And, you know, so I turned down a couple of things to stay in the business. And the wife and I, we had made plans back in 2018 that Arizona was going to be our finish point. So we had started investing in that. And I just told the wife, I said, you know what, let's sell the home in Michigan. Let's head out there and let's figure it out. You know, so I took a few months just to decompress. And then after about 3 months, the wife's looking at me, the dog's looking at me like, why are you still here?
Get
back to work.
So,
been there, done that.
So I said, you know what, let me test the waters and see what's out there, because what that little time off showed me is that I'm not ready to completely shut it down. I still need to have a purpose. So I started looking around and you know what, a buddy of mine called me out in Idaho to, you know, trying to get me, Jen and I, to go out there and do real estate with them. And so while we was out there visiting, I get a call from the Charter One School District, you know, which is a charter school, and they're the American Leadership Academy. There's about 17 schools here in Arizona. They have another, well, I think, 9 schools out in the South Carolina, North Carolina area. And they had a district athletic director job that they're looking to hire. You know, I said, yeah, I'd love to visit with you about it. So that was about a 2-month process, going through the interview process with them. And gosh, come July, they called and extended it to me. So that's what I've been doing myself. And it's been fun. You know, I never knew a 40-hour week job exists. Weekends off, you know. So I tell you, it's taken some getting used to, you know, because as you can imagine, in the college world in athletics, you know, you're pretty busy and you're moving at a pretty good pace. So, you know, this slower pace for me, although it's been good, it's been an adjustment. My I'm getting to spend more time with the family. I'm doing a lot of firsts. I mean, I probably watched more football than I did my whole 29-year career coaching, because obviously when I was coaching, that was the last thing I wanted to do was watch it.
Mm-hmm.
So I watch it, but I can watch it differently now. And sure, I might know some things and look at some things, and but outside of that, it's been good, and I can honestly tell you, there's probably been in the last year only one case where I felt a certain kind of way, and that happened AD a few weeks ago when we went to visit my daughter, and my daughter's dating a young man that works for the 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
So we went to a football game, and we went there early. So we went to his office, and I said, you know what? I said, hey, let me put on some practice tape. Let me see what the game plan is this week. So we was watching tape, and I had that Cowboy remote in my hand. And that's the first time I had that remote in my hand, and I mean, you're talking about a year,
right?
And it kind of hit me a certain way, and I was like, oh, wow, and that's the first time I honestly felt anything,
right?
And then my wife, she really knew I was losing my mind. We went to visit some friends in Salt Lake City, and I'm actually watching your guys' game against UCLA. And something happened, and I had the TV remote in my hand, and I went to try to rewind it. And my wife looked at me like I lost my mind.
Hey, everyone one of them. Some of them habits you can't shake right there.
That would be erase the game.
Those are the only moments I've had where I kind of feel a certain way. But other than that, that's what I've been doing, guys. Just staying busy and district athletic director, and spend a lot of time with the ADs and going around, to games and just supporting them and just trying to, it's almost like just trying to give back. Figure I have some knowledge that I can extend to them if they want to hear it.
AG, go ahead, my man.
Yeah, being in that position, and I kind of know what you're talking about. You're kind of hovering and watching, Coach. But what's been, I say, the biggest difference from when you were coaching to now, kind of just managing, like you said, managing the teams and organizations, or the high school where you're at right now?
Honestly, it's been a smoother than I thought it would be, because at the end of the day, you're still dealing with people, and that's my strength, is dealing with people and relationships and getting to know people, and so that didn't change. I mean, from day one when I took this job, when I didn't know right from left, the one thing I did know is, you know what, I'm gonna get out and be amongst the people. So I'm talking about day one. And then that kind of caught my immediate boss, kind of caught him off guard, because he figured, they thought they was gonna have to babysit me. I said, no, I'm good. I'm good. So we went out and about and got to know the people and started talking. So that piece has been a smooth transition. I think the hardest, and it hadn't been hard for me, is when I do go to a practice or I do go to a game, is I make a point not to make anybody feel uncomfortable.
Right.
I'm not second guessing anybody or anything like that. Like I said, if someone asks me a question, I'd be more than happy to, offer an opinion. But other than that, I'm just here to help and support.
Nice.
It's been a lot smoother than I thought, and obviously I'll continue to operate with that spirit in mind.
Gotcha. And one more question I got to throw in here. I know did you coach Niles, Paul, my nephew?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yes,
So I gotta ask, being I helped raise them as well. So how was he in meetings? When you break down film, because in our family, amongst us, we kind of beat up on each other, kind of like AD and his family and all of us. And when we have brothers and cousins and nephews, so he kind of, like I said, he was my nephew. I kind of helped raise him. So how was he when you got on him making corrections in game film practice? Either watching the game film or watching practice film.
Sure. Well, let me tell you, I'm not telling you anything you don't know.
Right.
You're just going to probably, it's probably going to bring a smile to your face.
Yeah.
First of all, Niles was, one of the most talented young men that I coached at Nebraska. But also, Niles, I earn every single dollar dealing with Niles.
I vote. There you go.
and I say that tongue in cheek that it was all worth it, because that in my opinion, I think that's what's missing in athletics. Nowadays is everything is a transaction. It's not about relationships.
Yeah.
So it started from day one, as you guys know. Niles was a highly recruited young man.
Yep.
And, so coming in, there was a lot of expectation. And I think more than anything is the expectation that Niles put on himself. Obviously having you as an uncle and what your success and what you was doing, and dealing with pops, and obviously
uncles, all around.
So there's a lot of pressure there, a lot of expectation. So from day one, just getting Niles to, because Niles was the bigger, faster, stronger than everybody, but mentally wasn't ready for the information we was putting on him, and trying to get Niles to understand that, because Niles didn't want to hear anything about redshirting. And I'm just like, Niles, listen, I don't want to waste your year. You're going to get 2 or 3 few plays here and there, special teams.
Right.
I mean, personally, I don't think that's worth it. But Niles didn't want to hear that. But obviously, about 3/4 of the way through the season, he came in my office and said, "You know what, Coach, I should have listened to you.
Yeah.
I should have listened to you." But here's the thing about Niles. Niles was I would say probably the toughest kid I've ever coached.
Oh, yeah.
And there was no false bravado about that. But with that toughness, Niles had a little bit of Niles was a wild Mustang. And trying to tame that fella, and when I say tame him, it just helped him channel all of that energy he had, helped him channel that competitive spirit, because Niles would get mad and want to fight somebody at the drop of a hat.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, Niles, I'm like, hey, you can't do that, man.
Yeah.
And I never once cussed at Niles and cussed at any of my players. That just wasn't me. But I was
me neither.
But when it's time to go, it's time to go, and I'm gonna hold you accountable.
Yes.
And I don't think Niles was used to being held to that level of accountability, because I called him on everything because I knew I had to.
Right.
And I used to tell Niles all the time, because you're gonna play, but listen, when you slip is showing, I'm gonna tell you. And I'll pull him on any and everything and call him out on it, and he didn't like that.
Yeah.
So when we butted heads, it was just that, because I wanted him to do it the right way, correctly, the details. And you talk about the meeting rooms, and just getting now stuff locked in as far as on the details, the small things. Hey, my route 16 yards. Hey, I need to get 16 yards. And, so just hold them to that accountability. And, I'll never forget one time, Niles was upset, and I can tell just his body language, everything, when he's getting ready to, make it back.
Blow up. Yeah, say something. Do something. Oh, yeah.
And I mean, I would, I would beat him to that, literally.
Yeah.
I had to, get his attention before it goes there. And then once again, he said, "Well, Coach, I don't see any other coach doing that." I said, "Well, hey, listen, I'm not coaching them. I'm coaching you." I said, "Hey, listen, I'm trying to save your life, because listen, you can't just swing on any and everybody." I said, "You get out away from the football field, nobody's going to fight your big old self." I said, "Somebody's going to pull out a weapon and hurt you."
Yeah.
And
seriously.
And I'll never forget. Because I'm sure at that time he didn't appreciate that. He probably resented, but I would like to think later on, as he's older, in fact, now called me a few months ago telling me, Coach,
Yeah.
I moved back and got my degree.
Yep.
You know?
And he's a dad.
You know,
and he's a dad now.
That's right. That's right. And I'll never forget. I'm at the Raiders, and obviously I think Niles, I can't remember if Niles was with Washington or with Jacksonville at that time. But anyhow, they was playing the 49ers. So the family, we came up to the hotel to see him. And Niles pulled me aside. And he said, hey, listen, Coach, I just want you to know, I've been working on my temper. I've been working on this, working on that. You know, and that meant the world to me because he's, you know, I'm like, okay, he's listening.
Yeah. Yeah, he does that. Yeah, he has that fiery attitude, that's kind of all in us as family members. But yeah, at the end, he's definitely tuning in and appreciating what you were showing him and teaching him as a football player on campus in Lincoln for sure.
Well, sure. And I'll say this about him. With all of that, it's always, and as you guys know, if your best player is your hardest worker, you got something. And that was him. That was him. I never had to coach him on effort, any of that. I mean, he loved to practice. He loved to compete. And it was a good problem for me as his coach to have to tell him, you know what, hey, during this period, let's dial it down a little bit. It's not full go.
Yeah.
You know?
Of course.
I mean, I'm getting in fights with the staff at the practice because of Niles taking somebody out, and it wasn't a full time. It wasn't a full speed drill.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I've had a few of those. You know, I had a few of those.
Yeah. Yeah. But listen, I would do it all over again. I would coach Niles, Paul. You know, I mean, over and over and over because it was well worth it. And in my opinion, you know what, that's what coaching is. I mean, like
Yes,
I said, not everybody's going to be, you know, take Nate Swift. Not everybody's as easy to coach as Nate Swift was. You know, but I tell you what, I'll take Niles Paul any day.
Any day.
Yeah, appreciate you for sharing that, Coach. Appreciate you a lot.
Yeah. Chris Rafferty's got a question for you as well, Coach.
All right.
Yes, Chris, fire away.
All right. Question I got for you is, who are some of the top players that you have coached, and who were some of your heroes when you were growing up?
Oh, top players I coach. Gosh, you know what? I've been really lucky. You know, from going back to, I played my college ball at Wyoming and started my coaching career there, and you know, had the pleasure of you know, coaching Marcus Harris, who was Blitnikoff, a receiver, who was very talented, you know, very talented young man. As I progressed in my career, if I would go to my time at Purdue, as you can imagine, at that time with Joe Tiller, we was a lot of these spread systems nowadays. They was doing it at that time, and I can recall people saying you can't take that offense into the Big Ten. But I had a couple of bookend wideouts, John Standiford and Taylor Stubblefield, who I still think, you know, probably I'll be shocked if they're still not in the top 10 as far as catching the ball and receiving, you know, as far as a duel. And that's been, you know, 20 years ago. You know, fast forward to, let's go to my time at Colorado. Had a couple of really good players there. DJ Hackett in particular.
DJ Hackett.
That stands out to me. That was a terrific player. And then, you know, obviously we go to my time at Nebraska. I had a few that I really enjoyed coaching. Obviously, we already talked about Niles, and between Niles and Maurice Purifier, they was probably the most talented, and both of them presented different issues. But I tell you who I also really enjoyed, and my buddies across the country used to give me a hard time, is I had Nate Swift and Todd Peterson.
Todd Peterson.
and they would call me and say, "Man, how winning games with them two white boys.
Hey, it's all in the coaching. It's all in the coaching.
Yeah, I said, hey, listen, I'll take them two white boys any day.
Yep.
Because it wasn't about the skin color, this and that. They was very, very talented young men that work hard and made us a better team. So, and then if we go to my time at SC, I had three pretty good ones, and Robert Woods, Mike.
Oh no!
Did we lose him?
Oh no, we might have lost him. Maybe we'll have to take a break and get him back on.
Are you there?
There he is.
There we
go.
He said you guys said take a break. No, you did not.
Well, what happened was you said USC and we hung up on
No doubt. No doubt.
You said Robert Woods and who else?
Oh gosh, at SC I had Robert Woods, Marquise Lee.
Oh wow.
Bryce Butler. And, and obviously I ended up leaving to go to the Raiders after that, but also had recruited Nelson Aguilar. So those are some pretty talented kids.
Yes, sir. Yes, indeed.
And then take away the Raiders experience. And then with Wisconsin, had trying to think who were the guys. My first year there had, Erickson, wideout, that was a pretty good player. And I think Alex is still bouncing around the league a little bit. And then I had the opportunity to really develop and coach Quintet Cephas, who's a kid that is currently with the Rams as we speak, who's a very talented kid. And obviously my time at Michigan State, Haywood, Connor Haywood, which was a hybrid kind of guy, and that's still playing. He's playing with his brother with the Steelers. Obviously, you know that. And he was a very talented kid. And what was your second part of your question there, Chris?
Who were some of your heroes when you were growing up?
Oh, my heroes. Gosh. I had a lot, but first and foremost, starting with my mom. That's she was it for me because, being the youngest of 8, growing up, single parent family, mom held it down. She was mom, she was dad, very strong woman, worked extremely hard. So this December 1st will be 2 years that we lost mom. But I tell you what, all the way up till the day she passed away, as a grown man, I could go home and put my head on her lap, and it was all good.
Yeah,
it was all good. So that was my first hero, and then from there, obviously, I'm no different than a lot of the young people growing up. You idolize a lot of the athletes, and I was exposed to pretty much every sport growing up. My mom did a good job of keeping me busy. She firmly believed in idle time is bad time. So I mean, in every sport. So from the basketball world, I was a huge Dr. J fan. And to this day, I would love to meet Julius Erving. I know I'd be starstruck. On the football field, growing up, I know you're not going to like this, AD. I was a huge Dallas Cowboys fan.
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
So
you got to deal with it.
Yeah, so obviously, from Roger Staubach to Tony Dorsett, Robert Newhouse, I can name them all.
Yeah,
that was my team, and you also appreciate this. My best buddy across the street from me, he was a Steelers fan. So depending on what happened in that game, we'd go weeks without talking.
Yeah. Hey, that's how it's good. Hey, keeping it real. I love it.
Yeah.
Teddy.
But that's a few of them. I mean, there's so many people that I have been influenced by, but those really stand out to me.
Ted, we got another question. Nick Sainert's got one for you before we go to break.
Coach, you said something a couple of minutes ago when you were talking about Niles, actually, about how you needed to hold him accountable a certain way because you knew about him. Kind of a two-parter. First part is, how long does a process like that take where you truly understand every single guy in your room and that each one of them are different and might have to be coached a little bit different? And then the second part of that is, in this current age of collegiate athletics, how much of that is lost?
Well, on the first part of your question is you as far as the time frame, I don't know if there really is a time frame, because I chuckle when I hear teachers, educators talk about you teach every young person the same way. Obviously you're following this curriculum, and I chuckle at that because I don't agree with that at all, because as you alluded to, everybody's different. So that's where the relationship comes in, and the time comes in, because hey, you spend more time. I was spending more time with these young people than I was my own family.
Right.
I learned from the gentleman that I played for, Paul Roach and Joe Tiller. They used to always talk about, they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Mm-hmm.
And, so you have to get to know them. You have to get to know them and spend time with them. And in doing that, I could figure out very quickly which ones that can handle me coaching them directly and which ones I can coach through someone else to get to them. So in order to figure that out, you have to get to know them. You have to spend time. And when you talk about today's time, I don't think that exists. And I say it, one is because look how large these staffs are.
Right.
I think these staffs are out of control. We had so many people at Michigan State, I didn't even know them all.
Wow.
But in my opinion, what you create an environment where, as a full-time coach, you get lazy, because you got somebody else doing your work, whether it's making your tapes, whether it's meeting with the kids extra, and that's where those relationships are formed. I mean, I can remember having all of them sitting in my office at once and just sitting around, and we may be talking and going through film, but we're also sitting in there laughing and giving each other a hard time.
Mm-hmm.
And you have less of that, so I think that's been lost, and I don't think it's as important, and I wouldn't say all coaches are like that, but I guarantee you the gray heads like myself still value that, whereas some of this younger generation probably don't, and, so that's just my opinion.
Ted, I got one last question for you before we go to break. One last question. I know that Jason Phillips, a longtime friend of yours, you introduced me him at your Ted Gilmore camps years ago, coach with Dion at Jackson State. He's the receivers coach now at Colorado. You both have had experience with Dana Holgerson, who is our current OC here at Nebraska. Ted, put yourself in those shoes. How tough of a move would that be to come in with 4 games left, evaluate the receivers you have there, evaluate the entire offense, and come in? And really, Ted, Nebraska needs this win tomorrow. Segue into tomorrow's game. Nebraska needs this win tomorrow. To lose tomorrow, it's going to be awfully tough. It's going to be awfully tough if you lose that game. How critical is it to win that game tomorrow? First of all, how tough would it be to come in and evaluate an offense in 2 weeks?
Well, I think it's extremely tough. Personally, I don't. I hate to see things like that happen to any coach. Obviously, I don't know all of the details, the circumstances surrounding it, but personally, I struggle with that decision. Because I think as you guys know, as a head coach, whether it's offense, whether it's defensive or special teams, those respective coaches on those units aren't doing anything you don't know about as a head coach. And so to do that, heck, if you wanted more run game, if you wanted more 3-step, if you wanted more vertical game, tell that person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, tell that person. You give them a chance to make those changes, but to make that a wholesale change, obviously you're putting Dana in a tough position to come in here and you know, be the savior, you know, because that's you know, you still got the same players.
Yeah.
And you know, so whatever that mindset is, whatever, if you're struggling as an identity, you just up that even more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, trying to figure out who you're going to be and what you're going to be, and you know, so it's a tough one, you know, but you're going to find out, you know, what your kids are made of, because at the end of the day, it still comes down to, in my opinion, eyes, hands, feet. I mean, you know,
Right.
There's not a position on the field that doesn't come into play. And hopefully by now, I came up, what is this? Is this year 2 or year 3 for
Year 2?
For that stat? Year two.
Year 2.
Hopefully you've done enough to instill a culture, if you would, you know, one that requires them to have to strain and you know, pull that tool out of your toolbox when you have to. But I think in today's time, that's even tougher when you have this transfer portal and you don't have a lot of kids that's been through it and know how to strain and weather that. So, you know, but the one good thing about tomorrow's game is you got 2 programs that's in the same boat that's finding an identity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, so who wants it more?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Ted, I can't tell you how much we appreciate you. Ted, I'm definitely going to have you back on in about 2 weeks or so, because I want to hear, when you talked about the portal, how it changed when you were the NIL, and just kind of your discontent, and also just how you felt about it and still feel about it, and some of your decisions why you didn't go back to the college level, you know, because of the strain on that. Because I definitely want to get into that. So, Ted, I can't tell, but we appreciate you being on, big bro. I love you. I appreciate you. I just hear the coach and you said eyes, hands, and feet. I mean, it's just in you. Me and Ted talk on the phone. He'll call me coach because that's what he's done for 30 plus years. Everybody's coach. Ted, hug Jen, the family for you. Love you, brother. I appreciate you, man. We'll definitely be back in touch with big bro.
Hey, I appreciate it, guys, and it's mutual, and I look forward to it. I'll come on anytime.
Absolutely.
All right, Coach. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Ted Gilmore, folks, former Nebraska coach, receivers coach. And like you said, tomorrow it's about who wants it more. Ted, good morning, Coach.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?